Metcalf. You see the boy in Frisco stabbed to death by Carmelo Anthony?
Yeah, my heart goes out to the family. They trying to make this a race issue, and this is a right or wrong issue.
Okay, so no.
They trying to make this a race issue, but this is a right or wrong issue. It depends on how you was raised. And I like Charleston White. I think he's definitely needed in the culture because he take controversial opinions. Because they feel like if you black, you should be on Karmelo's side, and they feel like you white, you should be on Austin's side. And it really comes down to right or wrong in your moral compass and how you was raised. Is which side you're gonna be standing on this certain topic.
Real quick, I like where you're going on this because I'm not even trying to race bait or anything. People are making this about black and white. You see that they're trying to make this kind of like a Trayvon Martin kind of, they're talking about it. But where do you?
It is. Trayvon Martin was an angry black kid that had to be sent to his father because he lacked discipline, grew up in a home with his single mother. Any well-behaved kid with manners that had respect of adults, once George Zimmerman approached him, whether he's right or wrong, as a child, this is an adult. You get off the phone with that.
You can see Charleston White, he comes from that older generation where we didn't play with adults like kids play with adults now. We wasn't disrespectful from adults because in our generation, your neighbor could beat you, your principal could beat you, and your parents wouldn't say nothing at all. But nowadays, parents makes it okay for kids to disrespect adults, and that's definitely a problem that's in the culture. Because most of the time, if the teacher call a parent about their kid, they're gonna take the kid's side. And the generation I came up on, the generation Charleston came up on, it was never gonna go like that. The adult was always right, and you had to respect the adults. But these days, with these kids, there is no respect for adults at all. They'll talk to you like you're one of their peers.
That fat ass girlfriend you trying to fuck, you call your dad and say, "Hey dad, it's an adult around here that just stopped me." He says he's calling the police. Rather than doing that, he had an attitude because as young black males in this country, we have an authority problem because we walking around angry.
And there you go, he's cooking it again. Before we unpack this all the way, if you didn't like, subscribe, leave a comment, make sure you do that. But when I make these videos, I talk about my personal experience. When I came up, I definitely had a problem with authority. I didn't want the teachers telling me nothing. I didn't want no cop telling me nothing. I didn't want nobody outside of my parents telling me anything. So a lot of stuff he's saying is true, and I just know it from my personal experience.
Place from our father's issues, but we resent our mothers.
That's true.
So we're a ticking time bomb. And Trayvon Martin could fight. So that's why I say you be careful approaching some of these young kids. But a 13-year-old will kick a 40-year-old's ass.
That's true.
And that's what happened in that situation. He underestimated this kid, and he was looking for trouble. But by law, he was right. And he was judged by his peers. So we can't say nothing once you're judged by your peers.
Well, what do you think's going to happen in this Austin Metcalf thing? You think he's
Metcalf had to go, well, no, that boy going to jail.
Carmelo Anthony's going to go to jail.
Carmelo going to jail.
It's crazy.
Because listen, you cannot bring a weapon to school.
Yeah.
So you can't say I was
What if he says self-defense?
There's no self-defense because if you are afraid the day before where you have to take a weapon to school, why not notify your parents? Parents, you notify the school teacher. School teacher that's bringing these kids in here and resolve this issue is called...
He's cooking. If that would have happened, if he would have told his parents would have called the school and they would have been alerted of this situation, it would have been looked at completely different. So the fact that he didn't do this is going to be looked at completely different. Charleston White, because he took none of these steps, because he took none of these precautions, he's probably 9 times out of 10 is going to get locked up. I seen that he raised over $300,000 so far. It's going to get him a good lawyer. But from where I'm standing, from what I've read, from the state they in, the county they in, I don't think it's going to help him all that much.
On conflict resolution, we was taught in homes that has morals and values, you tell the teacher. Somebody fucking with you, you tell the teacher. Let the teacher know so when y'all have an altercation, you're cleared and you're covered. Documentation beats conversation. So where's the document?
Documentation beat conversation. I tell my kids that all the time. The first thing they tell me was something that happened with a student in the classroom. The first thing I tell them, where was the teacher and did you tell a teacher? You have to let the teacher know so if something happened, you're covered. This game is all about dotting your I's, crossing your T, and make sure you're covered at all times. Hindsight is 2020. You never know how this outcome is going to play out. So cover your ass. It's just the best way to be.
To say this is self-defense. It's a premeditated crime because you took a weapon in fear. anticipating to use it.
It was premeditated, though.
And it's at a track meet. You getting ready to run track with other kids and you got a knife on you. No, man, you got to go to...
I ran track. I was all state in track. When I graduated, I had hundreds and hundreds of track medals. I have never once went to a track meet with a weapon on me, ever.
Yeah, you got to go. There's no so when is it all right to kill the bully? I don't give a fuck what the bully did. He don't have a right to die.
No.
I don't think nobody felt like this cat had the right to die because he's a bully. You gotta learn how to deal with bullies, because when you go from first to second grade, from elementary to middle school, from middle school to high school, from high school to college, from college to the working place, there's always going to be another bully. And the first thing, you got to learn how to deal with the bullies early, because bullies do not bully everyone. They bully people who they think is an easy mark. They bully people who they think that's not going to stand up for themselves. You never see two bullies going at it with each other. It's always a bully and a weaker person. So you just got to know how to stand up for yourself, talk things out, and then you're going to notice he might mess with you once, he might mess with you twice, then he's going to find a new victim, because you're going to make it very difficult for him anytime he comes your way. He know you're going to have a fight on his hand, he know you're going to have a problem on his hand, eventually he's just going to leave you alone. And this carries you from elementary, middle school to high school. You got to learn how to deal with this stuff early. Taking somebody's life is not the way to deal with it, because now you're in trouble. Now you got the chance of getting locked up. Now you might be away from your family, all something that could have been easily avoided. And as I got older, I used to go places. Now that I look at my younger life, I'll be like, yo, you put yourself in a lot of dangerous situations without even realizing. Now that I'm older, if I feel like I got to take a weapon, I'm just not going.
Man, you weak, man. That's why I say teach the kids how to deal with bullies, and this won't happen.
Facts.
We're all not equal. Even in nature, you can be feeding a flock of birds. There's going to always be one bird to come in and take the food from the... This is nature. Yeah. You cannot get rid of bullies. Teach the kids how to deal with them. Bullies build character.
Facts.
You go to work, there's going to be a bully supervisor, a bully co-worker.
Yeah.
You cannot get rid of the bully.
Can't.
Teach our children conflict resolution. Everything don't have to end in violence. But when you come from the black culture, everything is disputed in violence.
That's a fact.
That is the problem, though. That's how you.
It's the culture.
That's the culture. Is that's how they solve when you have a serious issue. They don't even contemplate trying to talk it out.
We teach a no snitching rule, right? So our kids are walking around with these mafia rules, codes, and ethics of the streets that's held over children about no snitching. So now I have to take a weapon because I don't want to be a snitch and kill another kid. Oh, it's a simple solution. Go tell the teacher.
I teach my kids to go tell the teacher. I don't care about none of that non-snitching stuff, because we see most of the people from the mafia, from the gangs, when they get caught, the first thing they do is tell. The feds, we all know, got a 99.12% rating when it comes to convictions. Not because they're doing this stellar work. It's because when people get in there, they're telling. So these are what the so-called gangsters is doing, is telling. Why would we hold the kids to this standard that the gangsters, the mafia, is not even holding? We could go from gang to gang, mafia to mafia. Guess what? They all told.
Tell your parents.
Yeah.
It's a simple solution.
I know, but
tell, motherfucker, tell.
But what sounds crazy, I know it sounds so easy, but the thing is, even for the criminal, the guy that would commit an assault, if you stop him before he does the assault, then they don't have to go to jail as long. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is not that kid's first time grabbing a weapon, because most kids who grab a weapon from the first time don't kill people.
Yeah, of course. You bring a gun a couple times before you shoot it.
And if I was being bullied and I'm in self-defense, even though he have an undeveloped brain and he's impulsive, why run?
I don't know.
Why get rid of the knife?
That stuff right there, you can't even argue with. Even if you want to stand on Karmelo's side, it's like, yo, if you was in self-defense, there's no reason to run if you're in self-defense. There's no reason to get rid of the knife if you're in self-defense. People that are defending themselves do not run because there's no reason to run. You ran from a reason because you thought what you was doing, or you knew what you were doing at this point just was wrong.
You're showing criminal intent. Why throw the knife away where they can't find? He wasn't found with the knife in his pocket. He wasn't sitting down with the knife in his hand, ready to explain what happened.
So, but do you think that he had some sort of predisposition to wanting to murder? Is that what you're saying?
No. Children don't wake up to kill because they don't have the brain capacity, the brain development to say, I want somebody dead. Children are impulsive.
Yeah.
This was a tragic incident where a kid who don't have emotional intelligence acted impulsively because he comes from a culture that promotes, propagates violence. Mm-hmm. Every day, all day, kill, kill, die, nigga, shoot, kill, kill. You can't take this in, and you lack training. You lack morals. You have to have a foundation of a value system to listen to this type of shit all day long, and you don't have.
He's cooking. You definitely gotta have a certain moral compass with you to listen to this type of stuff, because you just taking all this violence in, you're gonna manifest violence into your life, just how it works. So I tell my kids, these people are not doing this stuff. The stuff that you're hearing on these songs, there's not doing it. When I was my kids' age, I used to think everything I heard from rappers, I thought it was the truth. I thought this is what they was really living. This is what they was really doing. I wanted to dress like them. I wanted to talk like them. I wanted to act like them. Now that I'm older and these rappers that I looked up to when I was younger are now older, I could see a lot of stuff they was saying was cap. A lot of stuff they was doing, they're not doing it. So it's my job to tell my kids exactly what happened when I was younger and what I see now, because they think exactly how I thought when they was younger. Everything they see these rappers doing, they think that they're doing. But I let them know, these are millionaires. They live in mansions. They got all the exotic cars, all the exotic females. They're not sliding on no ops. They're not doing any of this. They're just making music. Give me an example, like somebody like Plies. I was a big Plies fan when I was coming up, but when I got older, Plies to me is now very weird. And then I found out a lot of stuff Plies was saying, it was just his brother life that he's seen, and he just was talking about his brother's life that he's seen. Most of these people are just talking about stuff that they seen, not stuff that they actually did. And it's our job as parents to let our kids know this, so they do not go down a path of destruction.
Have no emotional intelligence where you've been taught to say, man, when you get angry, think. Nice. Take a deep breath. So he was anticipating this to happen. That's why he had the knife, and we had this outcome. He didn't want to kill nobody.
I don't think he wanted to kill anybody. He almost kind of manifested it, though, just by his culture, him around it, having the knife. But well, accidentally.
I got a nephew that goes to school out there.
Mm-hmm. At Frisco?
Yeah, and not to paint this kid in a bad image, this is why I used to tell my son, because I got a house full of guns. Mm-hmm. And I saw my son on Instagram one time with a blunt in his mouth. He was 14 years old with my guns. I told him I better not ever see you, because I'm trying to prepare this kid to go to the military.
Stuff like that. That's why fathers is needed in the house. I better not ever catch you. Nothing means more to a son than the words from his dad. I know to my sons, I'm a superhero. There's nothing I could do wrong. They think that I could beat everybody. They think if I can stop a bullet. It's just how sons look at their father. So it's very important to be the voice of reason, to let them know what's going on, because you once was their age, and now you see exactly how the game go. You look at it from a different lens. When I was coming up, my dad used to tell me a lot of stuff, even though it was coming out one ear and out the other. As I got older, I'm like, he was right about this. He was right about that. He was right about this. And stuff started to click when I got older. So it's my job, knowing that my son is taking the same path that I did. Everything that I'm saying, he's not going to get it, but later on in life it's going to click. And you tell your kids stuff like this because you don't want them to end up in a tragic situation like this where you just throw your whole life away. We're gonna get out this video, but before we get out this video, it's Trey Jones, and I'm out.